Hi, I'm Ricky Fort and welcome to the Real Estate 101 podcast. Join me as I lift the lid on the real estate industry and share some great stories from behind the scenes. Like and subscribe and enjoy this episode. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Real Estate 101. It's been a long hiatus. My name's Ricky Fort from Geelong Real Estate Co. and I'm here with my man Tom Simic and Reece Fiddler, and these are my boys. We're doing our side hustle, not so small anymore, Geelong BnB Co. Welcome, boys.
Thanks.
We came in with zero plan, so that's going to be exciting. I just thought it was about time. We get asked so much what we've been doing in this space. So I thought it's probably a good opportunity to get everyone together and just talk about what we've been up to and how it came about. So we went to a real estate conference last year up in the Gold Coast, and we heard from a guest speaker up there that had been doing a little company called, or not little, Burley Letting Co. And I like the sound of that, obviously similar to what we've been doing. And just looking at Airbnb rental returns and having customers ask us so often about, is that a service we offer? I guess that opened up a really good segue in the market. Reece and I have obviously been working together at Geelong Real Estate Co. for, the business has been running 3 years now. And obviously I've sold a property to Tom.
Yeah, so I guess that's how I met Ricky. Is my wife and I bought a property with the intention of it being an Airbnb. Which is probably the first time you'd seen that.
Yeah, yep.
We were specifically looking for a clean, easy, low maintenance property that would make a good Airbnb.
Probably worth prefacing your background as well, being a nerd, an accountant, and
Sure.
just knowing numbers and that sort of stuff. I remember when we met and you were reeling off all the figures. I was like, that can't be right. Those numbers can't be right. So, tell us a bit about how obviously you got started with that purchase.
Sure. So I'm a bit nuts. I do a lot of things. I work a lot, I study a lot, and I've pretty much studied all the way through. I've been working as an accountant for 7 years at that point. I'd studied law, I'd studied accounting, been qualified as a lawyer and a CA.
Triple threat.
And then over COVID got a bit bored and did a degree in property as well. And one thing kept coming back through all the assignments I was doing, and that was, if you do the same scenario but make it an Airbnb, going off current rates, you make about triple. That's really what it was coming down to for me as an owner. It was like, if you're willing to take the risk of setting up furniture, you might have to pay 20, 25 grand to set up furniture at the start. You might have to wear the seasonality of the income, but if you're willing to do that, you do make quite a lot more. You're looking at the current data. And so I guess that's what pushed us to go, all right, well, we're looking at buying an investment property anyway. Let's buy one with an Airbnb focus. And it's going well.
Tell us about the selection process, obviously, for you, how you identified the right one.
Yeah. Well, we know Geelong very well. I'm a Geelong boy. So sort of just picked suburbs that we knew would have decent long-term capital growth as well. I love my spreadsheets, and I did heaps and heaps of spreadsheets on calculating exactly what we thought the Airbnb income was going to be, what all the costs would be, what the rates were going to be. One of the biggest things was just finding a clean property, ideally 3 to 4 bedroom, because it's a significant jump in Airbnb income the more bedrooms there are.
The nightly rates.
Yeah, the nightly rate significantly increases if you're able to cater for more people. So that's sort of what we were looking for. The place we did get is a 3.5 bedroom, really clean unit. I think it's 15, 20 years old, but it had been freshly painted. The previous owner was an electrician, so he'd put all flash lights in it. The garden's relatively low maintenance. I still have to go there every now and then, do a massive hedge trim of some vines out the back, but it is really nice. So that was it, and just something that obviously we could afford and that we could cover the repayments for with the Airbnb income at the current interest rate. So it's a bit of a different story now with the interest rates pretty much doubling the rental.
Yeah.
Doubling the repayments.
Yeah. It's probably a good, it's an interesting story because obviously, I'd met you with, I'd had a brief interaction and off you went basically, and it was just a really good running business for you straight away from your Airbnb perspective of what that property was returning. And then I think it was like well over 12 months before we caught up again. I remember I called you. I was like, man, I've just come back from this conference. I've heard about this guy. This is what he's doing with his business. It sounds amazing. I'd love to catch up for a coffee and tell you a bit more about it. And I remember basically told you I was all G'd up about how good this idea was and that I wanted to do it. And then obviously I've just got my hands so full with the business here, and we've grown to 350 properties. We've got 10 people on the books now. Like, the business has grown so much, and you just kept staying in touch, like once a month, going, have you done anything with that business yet? You done anything with it yet? You done anything with it yet? And I just realized, like, I couldn't do it on my own. I just didn't have the capacity, and obviously but I knew we had the skill set, we had the customers. So, like, converting some of our existing rent roll, our brand in the marketplace, I knew we were doing some things right, and we could extrapolate that to the Airbnb stuff. And that's obviously when the partnership idea came up. I said to Reece, I think this is too much for just us. And then, in you guys come. Obviously, we need to give a special shout out to the real boss of Geelong BnB Coach. She's not here at the moment, but Tom's wife, Mahima. Also a triple threat. She's done all different degrees, but she's a lawyer.
Yep.
I think between the four of us, obviously, like Reece being a seasoned property manager of how many years?
Maybe 18 or thereabouts.
Maybe. Like, I think it's a pretty good dynamic. Definitely off to it took a lot longer than what we potentially thought to get it up and going. And there's been some really good learnings in that. So not so much from like a customer acquisition point. I suppose that's one thing that I can maybe talk about. But Reece, I thought it'd be good to bring you on, and you could kind of chat to some of the challenges that we've had around converting existing rental properties into Airbnbs, just due to the costs associated and stuff like that. So you're happy to?
Yeah, I think the main issue with converting clients, I guess, is just that fear of the unknown. Like, people have definitely used Airbnbs in the past. You know, everyone's sort of been out and gone on holidays, but trying to convert from, I know what that fixed income is going to be from a permanent rental perspective, across to, what is it? What's the nightly rate going to be? How often are people going to be staying? What's that going to look like over a year? How much do I need to invest to get the furniture involved? It's a bit of a fear of the unknown factor, I think. So there's a lot of people who are just getting a reasonable income from their existing setup with a permanent rental, and just, do I want to take that risk and make that jump? So I think that's been the main issue with converting clients. But there's been a lot of people who, like Tom, I think, who can just see the bigger picture and are prepared to make that jump and do that initial investment of the furniture. And once they've done that, like, we've had a property in Port Arlington that we were leasing permanently that's converted across, and that's, just in the first month's worth of bookings, I think had sort of 65 or 70% occupancy, and, the owner did the right thing and furnished it really well as well. So it presents awesome, and I think it's been a really good outcome so far. So
I think one of the unforeseen kind of challenges we have had is a lot of our investors are just mum and dad investors, and not so much living paycheck to paycheck, but they're not. I think there's this stigma in the media that landlords are wealthy, and that's not necessarily the case. I think a lot of people are using this part of their lives to put it all on the line and try and buy an investment property. And like I said, they a lot of them are close to living paycheck to paycheck. So when we approached the subject with them and said, these are the sorts of returns and that you can make, but you do need to invest. You do need to spend 20 or 25,000 or whatever in completely furnishing a property. And then there are risks as well. So it's not all cream.
Yep. I think, like, the seasonality of the income is the thing that a lot of owners can't account for as well. So like you said, I think there's definitely a lot of landlords in the system at the moment who, the paycheck to paycheck kind of setup is definitely the case, particularly with increased interest rates. Like, there's a lot of owners who are just, increased taxes and stuff. They're just struggling to make their payments, and, they don't want to pass a lot of that on to the renters who occupy the properties as well, because the renters are doing it tough in this economy. So, them having to make that big investment can be really hard. So that's the challenge as well, I think.
I think what we've been surprised at, some of the customers that have wanted to come across and do the Airbnb thing is, again, there's a lot of negative sentiment in the media about landlords and that, they're greedy and things like that. But a lot of the landlords that we have bought over and put onto Airbnb potentially needed to use the property seasonally for themselves. So we've got a bit of a policy with the business that a landlord is allowed to use the property for, what's the policy?
28 days, 1 month of the year.
Yeah. And obviously that allows them to still, be able to use the property. It's tax effective, different things like that. But I guess maybe, Tom, if you want to talk about going back to you being nerdy and having the data and all that sort of stuff, and that's why you're here. But tell us a bit about what makes a good Airbnb.
Yeah, sure. I think the higher quality that you can make it, particularly if you're buying an older home, it doesn't really suit as well as an Airbnb. People are expecting it almost a hotel standard, but a larger property than just a single hotel room. That's a big part of it. Making sure we've got an enormous checklist that we go through with our clients, but it's an enormous list of, everything down to knives, forks. They want coffee pods. They want everything more than a hotel room is going to give them. And I know there's been some negative sentiment around Airbnbs lately as well about, they expect me to do everything. They expect me to clean the house myself and then charge a cleaning fee. Or they expect me to put the bin down. We don't really do things like that. We're a bit, I guess, we try and run it pretty fair.
Convenience.
Yeah. We want to make it convenient. We want to make it an enjoyable experience. So we provide as many amenities as we can, which you're ordinarily not going to get. Location's really important as well. I guess, how close are you to, the footy, the beach, town, things like that. I've been really surprised because our property isn't actually in really
Central location.
It's not in a central location. It's on the Melbourne side of Geelong. It's not particularly close to anything. But we get a lot of stays that are people down for work, a lot of tradies that are down for 2 or 3 weeks. We get a lot of people working for Barwon Health who are doing 1 month placements down here. We've actually been very lucky to get a few insurance stays, including ourselves. When our own house flooded a year and a half ago, we just asked our insurer, we said, hey, are we allowed to just rent our own Airbnb to ourselves at market rate while our place is getting fixed?
And you'll pay for it.
And then insurance, takes the bill. And they said, yeah, that's fine, because otherwise we'll just be booking a hotel room or booking somewhere else for you. So we were very, very lucky to book our own place to us.
Yeah. I think we've got a few customers on current stays doing the same thing with insurance at the moment.
Yep. So we've got one at the moment, again, in our own property, which is very nice. Very nice. That's, I'm not sure what's happened with their place, but insurance has just contacted us directly. And that's something we're looking at the moment, is getting in with a few insurance companies saying, hey, this is a really good option. If you want someone, a family that's out of home and they're looking for a place because, there's been a fire, there's been a flood, there's something like that, and they need some support, giving them an option of a place to stay for 2 or 3 months where they're going to feel comfortable. It's going to feel more like a home than staying in an Airbnb. So we've got one at the moment there. I'm not sure what exactly is going on, but they're just extending month by month as needed until their repairs are done on their house.
Yeah. I think it's like financially it's so great, and as our portfolio grows, we can almost cater to everyone. Like you got 1-bedroom apartments, you got 2-bedroom units, you've got townhouses, you got family homes, you've got big beach stays and getaways and that sort of thing. So I think from the insurance perspective, we can kind of cover the whole kit and caboodle, which is great. Tom, obviously, are you happy to speak a little bit about Mahima's role and what she is doing?
Yep. So big shout out to Mahima. She's been doing a lot of work. She's probably more work than the 3 of us
Combined.
Easily. So she definitely deserves credit. And a big part of that is she's got great communication skills. She's got great organisation skills from previously being a lawyer. So she's been putting a lot of hours and a lot of time into setting up all the listings, doing the bookings, managing the pricing, which is a big part of it. Checking up on the properties, restocking amenities. She really has a really hands-on role with the hosts.
Yeah.
But also she does most of the guest messaging, which I know has her answering messages at all hours.
Yeah. But that's part of that 5-star service, and that's why a lot of people don't want to manage the Airbnb themselves. It is a labor-intensive thing. I know, the market rate for a landlord, across rent in Geelong is like 6 or 7%. It's kind of the standard management fee for a rental perspective, and Airbnb's anywhere between 15 and 25. So it's costly, but there's a lot to it.
It makes sense. When once you see the amount of work we have to put into answering messages on a Saturday night when we're at a wedding and things like that, it doesn't stop.
Yeah, I remember you guys were in Bali, and like there was Mahima took a photo of you at your laptop by the pool working. So yeah, it's been profitable, but it's bloody hard work as well. But it's fun.
It's good.
We're enjoying it. I guess if people want to get some information, like I'm constantly just telling people it costs nothing, reach out, let's run some numbers on your property. What's involved, Reece, on customers wanting to get in touch and know what their property would return from a nightly stay or a yearly per annum sort of figure?
Yeah, it's no different than reaching out when you just want a sales appraisal, basically. Like we can give you some really informative data around, what properties like yours is achieving in the immediate area. So yeah, there's just lots of data that we can pull from Airbnb and a variety of other sources, and it gives,
Secret sources.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to say.
Yeah. But yeah, it really can give you some information to make some really informed decisions, basically. And it's kind of like, if you're going to sell your property, this is what it's worth. If you're going to rent your property permanently, this is what it's worth. And we can give you the same sort of data over a annual year figure. So like, what's it going to look like from a holiday renting perspective? We can give you that info. So it's really just a matter of reaching out, just like you would for a sales appraisal, and give us a property address. We'd love to obviously meet you out on site as well, because checking out what the property offers in person is really important, because an older property versus a newer one and the amenities that come with that are really important on that nightly rate and what it can achieve. But yeah, we can give you some pretty good data pretty quickly and help you make an informed decision.
And coming back to me doing my spreadsheets, that's actually what I did when I bought my initial property. There wasn't actually any Airbnb management companies in Geelong. So I reached out. I had a couple in Melbourne send me quotes. I had a couple in Queensland send me quotes. Using the same data, I suspect, we can actually see with our software every single property in the world that is on Airbnb, and we can see how many nights it was booked out. We can see the dollar nightly rate. We can see everything. So it gives some really, really solid data on how we should be pricing it. But after my first year worth of rental income, I sat down and looked at my initial estimates, and I was $12 off, including every cost.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. That's not a regular thing.
If you're happy to share, what was the total? Like, what was the gross income?
Yeah, it was somewhere around 70,000, 65 to 70,000.
Yeah, and to be $12 off over 70,000, it's not bad.
I was pretty happy with that.
Speaking of secret sauce, probably Reece, you again happy to chat to some of the early lessons that we've learned around setting up our properties for success moving forward, like the nightly rate and bookings and stuff?
Yeah, I think the hard thing that we've learned is, starting a new listing that has no reviews, and also being a new host that has very few properties and reviews. So the early days, like we learned, it was really a matter of, this is what we think we can achieve on a nightly rate once we're set up, but we need to get that sort of reputation for your property built and build up that review base. So we've just had to go in pretty sharp on pricing at the start. And that's helped us achieve some really great reviews for the properties, and that's what's really important in converting those future bookings and the longer term bookings as well. So
I think when we knew we had it right was Rancho Relaxo, which is my favourite. It's a little apartment we've got on the waterfront. It's a Simpsons reference for anyone that's listening. But yeah, that was the first customer that we really said, listen, you got to trust us. I think we were doing like 50% off for the nightly rate for the first X amount of time. And it went from being a new listing with no reviews, no bookings, to essentially it's our most heavily booked property now. The nightly rates chockers. It's booked out essentially all of August already, and it's only been on the market for how long?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was
like a
since
month.
the start of July.
Yeah. So it was a hard lesson to learn, obviously, but because we want to try and get the best nightly rate for our customers off the bat, and it feels a bit counterintuitive to reduce to get a better outcome later, but it's definitely been working super well.
Yeah, we figured out what makes it work.
Yeah. Photography as well. Like, what are you seeing makes a difference with because it's such a customer experience. Like, we obviously look at it from the landlord side of things, and the hosting side of things, but we've also found what makes a great Airbnb is like putting our customer hat on. And would we want to stay here? What does that look like?
Yeah.
What are you seeing there?
The professional photography that we're getting organised for all our listings is really important. And I think you just need to, put yourself in place of the customer. You're looking on Airbnb for a stay in Geelong, and what are your options? And if you're comparing your property to 10 other properties nearby that are similar, like it all comes down to presentation. So it's not only the photography, like that's a really important sort of part of it, but also just the way you're presenting the property, the way you're styling the property. Those are all really important factors. And it's just little things like extra prints on the walls and extra cushions on the couches and throws over the beds. Although that might seem really insignificant, like that just really makes the vibe for the property really trick up, and that's what people are looking for. So it might just be those really little things that help convert your property to more bookings versus someone who's just got a basic bed with 2 pillows on it and it just looks boring.
But also other things that people mightn't have thought of, having a property that's pet friendly. I know that's been really big. I think, Tom, you were nuts with your data and you knew all the keywords people were searching. I remember you like, it has to have a barbecue.
Yeah.
Has to have a barbecue.
Yep. Yeah. What was I looking at? I was looking at some studies out of the US, and it just had every different amenity that you can possibly have for Airbnb and how it affected price.
Yeah.
And there were some really unusual ones, but barbecue seemed to increase average price by 4%, 5%. Extra bedroom increased it 15, 20%. For some reason, ones that said kitchen decreased the price by 10%. So
Not sure if that's
yeah.
But coffee machines,
Yeah,
like
coffee.
pot
It's
machines
all
are
those
really
little. It's all those little things at 1 or 2% each, and it does actually make a huge difference when you add them all together. Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head though. It's about trying to like envision being the customer and what are the amenities close by. But having said that, they don't have to have that. Like, you know, there was the Airbnb in Whittington. Do you remember that one that they were making astronomical nightly figures on a 1-bedroom unit in Whittington. So it just comes down to price, presentation, everything like that. So,
Absolutely.
guys, thanks so much for coming on, giving a little snippet about what the Geelong BnB Co team's been up to for the last couple of months. And keep an eye out, watch this space. But again, if you've ever got any questions or you want to know what your property's worth, we've got the two gurus here. We'd love to help. So if there's anything you need, reach out.
Thanks.
Thanks, mate.